France 24 debate. We're looking at Algeria's way of doing democracy in the midst of an Arab Spring. Talking about it with us from Algiers, Malik Sarraïf, consulting firm AIC, a former advisor to Algeria's president, sociologist Amel Boubacar of the Paris School of Social Sciences, EHESS, and from Marquette University, historian Philip Naylor. He's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Welcome back to all three of you. We were saying before the break about the fact that there hasn't been an Arab Spring in the sense that we've seen it in places like Egypt and Tunisia. But as Amel Boubacar was telling me during the break, there have been protests on and off. 10 days ago, in fact, there was rioting in one town after a young unemployed man set himself alight in the manner of Mohamed Bouazizi, that Tunisian street vendor. This was in Gigel. In the capital, too, there have been protests against unemployment that have been on and off. There you see images dating a little while back in Algeria. Amel, you've been commenting for us here on France 24 throughout the Arab Spring, and at the very outset, there had been initially protests in Algeria. People were expecting things to heat up a lot more than they have, or at least seem to have for us here in the West.
Well, the idea that Algeria is not going through an Arab Spring is a false idea, actually. And this is because we have this feeling because we are looking in the wrong direction. If we look at the leadership, of course, the people who are in power have not changed that much. But if we look at civil society and cultures, how cultures of oppositional cultures, actually oppositional political cultures are changing, then you can't say that Algeria is not going through the Arab Spring. You had more than 100 tentatives of immolation in Algeria. And this guy in Gigel is not the first one, unfortunately. You have a lot of strikes, you had a lot of protests. And even the idea that Algeria is a rich country that can buy social peace with the rent and redistributing money is not true anymore. Because what is happening actually in Algeria? The government has indeed redistributed money to a lot of different corporations who were asking for rising salaries. But now the effect is that much more people are also asking to benefit from this redistribution. So on the contrary, the rent is not buying social peace at all. It's just motivating people who want to see an improvement in their daily life and want a piece of the cake also. I mean, that's their motivation. So we can say really that Algeria is not going through the Arab Spring. But on the other hand, you have also the strategy of the pouvoir, of the system, who is that, okay, especially with the Islamist card, if Islamists are in power and may win some seats in the next parliament, that will mean that Algeria is going through a transparent and open democratic processes. But as you said, I mean, Islamists have been in power already in Algeria, so we should not look only at revolution or only at how Islamists are winning seats, or not like in the other country, to understand why Algeria is or is not going through the Arab Spring. But we should look at how people are strongly boycotting, rejecting politics, and maybe for the first time in at that scale, I mean, that rejecting violently elections and opting for boycott.
A couple of remarks from you, the viewers. One from Vasco on Twitter. We expected too much from the Arab Spring. It is hard to transition directly to a Western-style democracy, he says. While Mubarak on Facebook says, unless the military stay in their barracks and follow and emulate the Tunisian army, for example, Algeria will not move ahead economically, politically, and socially. This day will not come anytime soon, as the army is the main power broker and main player in the economics and political spheres of Algeria, not the aging Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Philip Naylor, when you were talking again about a country where 70% of the population is under 35, the fact that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Algeria's independence must seem quite far into many of them.
Well, I think it does. I think what has to happen in the country, and people have talked about this, both in France as well as in Algeria, is that they have to reconcile the present with the past. There's a need to understand history. and particularly this year when there was a commemoration of 50 years of independence. So I think this question of knowledge, the knowledge of the past is crucially important. And I think that's part of the frustration too, because of the ideals that were expressed in the proclamation 1 November 1954. Those ideals have not been fulfilled. The restoration of an Algerian state, or an imagination of an Algerian state that is democratic, social, and Islamic. And I think that Algeria is still dealing with that existential question.
Next presidential election, by the way, not scheduled until 2014. On the campaign trail, though, for the legislative elections, President Bouteflika, who is 75 years old, saying now's the time for the next generation to take over. Malik Sarai, when he says that, does he mean it?
That means he will not renew his mandate because he's tired and very sick, and he has done his best according the possibility of the country. And thanks to the gentleman who said it is crucial to understand from where we came in '62. Do not forget that the country was completely destroyed, and we destroyed again in between '82 and '93. Then that's why the result, the medium result, gentleman says 56 university. We have exactly 66 university and assimilated the, university in the medium size. Then the result is not, negative, but is not also really positive according to the standards what we are looking for. That's why I say that we are not looking exactly, the young people, they are not looking exactly for, especially political from any Islamic party, but they are looking for a new generation of manager. We need management. We need management very high, quality, because once again, I repeat, we are looking for Europeans. And then we know that we have appointment with European market in 2020. We will be a part of the European market, and then we must improve our teaching. We must improve our education. We must improve our way of working, and we are conscious that we have not the level necessary to play our role with our partners in Europe. That's why when we said maybe Islamic Party will take place, I don't think so 100%. Why? Because everybody say now we must be more and more near Europeans, near France, near Italy, near Spain, because the young people, they are definitely oriented to Europe, and then we cannot go back again, whatever. We say, of course, we are Arabs, we are Africans, but we are going to Europeans.
Amel Boubacar, your reaction to that? Do Algerians, we know that, for instance, in Egypt, a lot of the talk right now looks at the political process in places like Turkey, as an example. But are Algerians, as Malik Sarai was saying, turned firmly towards Europe? Is that their political reference?
Well, first, there's a matter of responsibility here. We can say that just by changing generations, all problems will be solved. The issues of the 90s need to be solved in Algeria. You are still forbidden by the law to accuse any high-rank representatives of having been responsible of any actions or any crimes during the 90s. So, and you are still forbidden to demonstrate in public spaces, for example, in Algiers, and that's the direct consequence of the crisis of the 90s. So,
state of emergency, though, has been lifted.
Yeah, but nothing has changed. Actually, people who have demonstrated have been put in jail, especially people who have demonstrated and called for a boycott. So if you don't solve these issues, not because we are going to have new actors, but if you have the same practices, nothing is going to be different. So in order to really go ahead and have a real change in Algeria, we need not only to know about the past, but also to solve past issues because they are still affecting the daily lives of people.
So you're saying it's not enough to change the guard. What will happen, though, after Abdelaziz Bouteflika?
Well, there's still not absolutely no consensus between the various clans that are in power on these issues of the succession. You remember when the President Abdelaziz Bouteflika was elected in 2009 for a third mandate after he modified the constitution in order to be able to bring this third mandate. He tried to play the card of a family succession, and the secret services say, no way, we are not going to promote your brother and to authorize him to be the next president. So now there's a kind of struggle between the president and secret services in order to find a consensus in order to have a new president. Some names are circulating, mainly old names and people who have been in power already, such as Hadi Benfis or Hamrouche, etc. But again, it's not, people won't buy it. It's not because you will have new actors or new faces. If practices of governance do not change, we will have the same scenario again and again: protest and people demonstrating in the streets and asking for change and not being pleased with what the government is offering to them.
Interesting in these elections, one of Algeria's oldest opposition parties this time around is not boycotting, the FFS, which is led by 85-year-old Hossein Ait Ahmed, one of the leaders of Algeria's fight for independence. Philip Naylor, that's been interpreted also as a move on the part of that party to position itself for the post-Bouteflika era. But do you agree with Amel Boubacar that whatever happens next is going to be decided in the high halls of power and in the high halls of power alone?
Well, I think that's a very sound conclusion, that it'll be the pouvoir once again being the major influence. What would create, I think, refreshing change would be an honest look, as I said before, concerning the past, in particular concerning the years of violence. The attitude seems to be forgive and forget. And I think that that's a mistake. I think Algerians, want an honest appraisal, want an honest assessment of that violence rather than just pushing it onto the shelf. Algerians need to know more about their own history, and I think that they want that. Again, going back to what I said earlier, the international impression that people are going to have concerning these elections is that there's apathy. The Algerian people are not apathetic. And they did not show it in these weeks of campaigning, for that matter, with regard to, again, the rallies, the tearing down of posters that I mentioned before. There is a frustration, there is an exasperation, but this is a people that is extremely resilient, and I do have a hope for them in the future.
Malik Sarai, do you agree that it's time to have that conversation regarding what happened during the blood years?
Yeah, but there is one reality, whatever we do, that the army will continue to play a secret role between who will go up and who will be maybe a candidate. Whatever the situation, the new situation, the army will play again this role. And the gentleman gave two names, but I believe that there are others waiting the possibility to be, called by with feedback of the army to play a role as for the next presidential, because people are frustrated, and we don't have real political generation of people. We don't have political people on very high level. We don't have, and so unfortunately. But there are some officials under the ground. We don't know much about them. But in the time, when the time, it means in 2014, I am quite sure, and all the people say that the army will come up with 2 or 3 names to play. In the new the next election, presidential elections. You remember that, for example, when the president wanted to push his own brother, no one accepted to say no, because also the army say no. And then maybe Mr. Hamrouche or Mr. Benflis, two outsiders, but I am sure that we will have other personality to come up.
Amel Boubacar?
No, I think we have people who are able to take Algeria in charge, but they are not involved in formal politics. That's why we are misled, actually. If you look where they are in civil society. They are asking for the truth on the civil war. They are calling for boycott. They are young people who are not interested in party politics anymore. So that's why we have the feeling that there's no major political generations in Algeria. But that's what we used to say also for Tunisia and Egypt, but we have been surprised by people who mobilize themselves in demonstration, who try to inform other young people about what does it mean to be a young Algerian and what are the solutions to their daily lives. So they are very pragmatic. They are trying to do a work on the ground. Of course, they are disorganized, and an unification of protest, or the various forms of protest, is the main challenge actually for having a mass protest able to offer a way out. But you have people who are able to do it. The only thing is that they are not to be found in formal politics or in usual party politics.
Before we go, because we're almost out of time.
The civil society here is not yet well organized to come up with personalities. Yeah. And the example of Egypt is not the good one for us. Everybody is tired about Islamic in this way, of course, in the way of the Islamic in Egypt. That's why there is no danger from this, with coloration. But the civil society is start to organize itself, and maybe I say maybe if all these young people will organize themselves on a million of people, then that they might cap up, they can change. Yes, they may change.
Just before we go, Amel Boubacar, there's always in the back of people's minds when we talk about Algeria in this country, that prickly love-hate relationship between France and Algeria. Here we have a new president, as you know. Is that going to change over the next year or two?
There's not a huge hope among Algerians that is going to change, to be honest. And that's also an effect of the Arab Spring, I would say, is that people are reluctant to count on the help of foreign actors in order to see their daily lives being improved. So there's not a huge hope among Algerians that France is going to make a difference in the democratic process yet to be invented in Algeria.
And do you agree with that, Malik Sarai?
Yeah, but any future candidate, first of all, he must have the feedback of at least two countries in the world, France first and the second, the United States. Any candidate without these two countries, he will not succeed. To be on the top and to play a role and to request the young people to help, because whatever, we are too close to these two countries for many reasons. One historical reason, and economical with France, and social, and the others also with states about economics and strategical, military security. That's why once again I repeat, the army again will play a role of selecting a candidate. Secondly, the influence of extra nation will be in the balance.
The army will be key. Thank you, Malik Sarai, for joining us from Algiers. I want to thank Philip Naylor for being with us from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Amel Boubacar here in the France 24 debate. Stay with us. Coming up next, it's business. Matthew Warren will have the latest.